G'day, this is Scotty Tucker from Clearwater Lakes and Ponds, sitting here with the pond guru, Mr. Bob Lusk, from editor of Pond Boss magazine. Thanks for joining us again, Bob. Just wanted to talk a little bit about aeration and the benefits that it provides to a pond, and also perhaps some of the different options that people have, and what experience you've had with the different forms of aeration, and when it's suitable and when it's not, because like most things, aeration's no different. It's not a case of one size fits all. There are different circumstances which different styles of aeration would be more beneficial. But if we just touch briefly on why you want to aerate a pond, well, first of all, aeration puts oxygen into the water, mainly through circulation and gas exchange. So it's bringing up some of the cooler, lower levels of water, bringing up to the surface, having an exchange with some of the gases that you don't want into the pond, with some of the gases that you do want into the pond, being oxygen at the surface. Aeration provides, and oxygen provides, key components to your fish, also to your plants, your microbials that are in the pond, your bacterias, your insects, absolutely everything. Anything biological needs oxygen in one way, shape or another. So, Bob, what are your thoughts on aeration and when you should aerate?
Well, Scott, I mean, you just hit it. Here's an explanation of the way water works. In the summertime, water stratifies. You know, in water, most of the time, not always, I'll explain that in a minute, heat rises. Now, the water is its most dense at 39 degrees Fahrenheit. If you take a 1-gallon jug of water at 39 and you weigh it, it's heavier than water at any other temperature. All right? In the summertime, as the sun heats the water and the currents move the heat down, that heat wants to escape, so it rises. So you end up with a thermocline. You wind up with kind of like a layer cake. You have a layer of warm water sitting on top of a layer of cool water, and the only currents you have are horizontal. When a wave blows up against the shore, it turns under and blows away underneath. So you have an oval movement or a circular movement of water in the summertime with wave action and winds. What aeration does is it creates vertical currents, where the water is able to move this way, where you can take that lower layer of water and move it upwards. Because when the water is stratified like a layer cake and you've got that warm layer of water sitting on that cold layer never does see the light of day until the water temperature up here cools to the equal temperature of the water below, then they'll mix. In lake management, that's called a turnover. People have heard that term before. Well, aeration prevents the stratification of water depending on the tools you use. Now, in the industry, there's basically 3 or actually 4 styles of tools to use. You have fountains, which pick water up and blow it up into the air in a cascading, churning motion that's beautiful to see. It's limited by the depth. It can only pick water up so deep, so it may not get down in that cooler layer, but it's very pretty to look at. Also have high evaporation rates with fountains, and in areas of Australia you want to avoid that. But if you want something that's aesthetically appealing, look at a fountain. There are circulators that move water horizontally across the surface. There's circulators that will pick water up from the bottom and cascade it over the sides of the circulator to destratify a pond. There's other circulators that will take water from the top and shoot it kind of like a shotgun down toward the bottom in slow motion to mix the water that way. There are pumps that will lift water up from the bottom. That's the least cost-efficient way, is to pump water. There's wind-driven aerators where there's manifolds that sit on the bottom, and when the wind blows into the windmill and turns it, it kicks on a compressor that takes air and puts it in the water, kind of like Alka-Seltzer bubbling up to the top. There are electric-powered air compressors that blow air through hoses stationed on the bottom of the pond through these manifolds or air stones that break the water up into millions of tiny bubbles that blast their way up through the surface and create that vertical motion. So there's a number of different types of aeration, circulation, fountain systems depending on the need for that pond. So if you're considering aeration, you need to think about why you want to do it. Then that will also allow you to figure out which system to use. And there's a lot of great companies out there. So that's basically, here's your take-home points. Choose whether or not you want to aerate. Then your choices are going to be fountains, going to be circulators, wind-powered aeration, Solar-powered aeration or electric-driven aeration, where those latter three are actually pushing air through hoses to the bottom and creating vertical movement of the water to allow it to contact the sun to decompose the organic things and release gases, in exchange getting oxygen from the atmosphere to improve the health of the pond.
Wow. There's a lot of options out there for aeration. And just like anything else, you want to pick the right one that's best for your application and situation. There's no such thing as one size fits all. You really should talk to an expert when it comes to aeration, get some advice, do your homework, and pick what's best for you. Bob, thanks very much.